Hello and welcome back, everybody. We've already managed to finish our first match of the day as we've got 3 more planned, but I have a new co-caster with me. It is LaFawn taking the second spot for today, and it's going to be Wichita State University versus Ryder. LaFawn, I'm ready to get the second match underway for this week 13.
Yeah, I'm a different face, but I promise to give hopefully at least as good a performance as the person I'm stepping in for. That being said, it's good to see you, Rich. It's good to see these games. I'm excited because this is going to be, I think, an interesting look into sort of the Overwatch that we're kind of expecting, right? Like, it's one of those things that this game is going to have, I think, a little bit of spice in it in terms of the compositions we're going to see specifically. But off the top, we got to talk about the teams right away.
Yes, indeed. And with Wichita, honestly, we've seen both before. We had casted them into the last season, into this one. Seating positioning, we've got the Independent placed at 5, where we've got the Mac Ryder University located at 8. So they're a little bit separated in the overall league placement. But again, this is an opportunity for Ryder to take their 6-win, 5-loss to a little bit of a more favorable, as we've got Wichita with 8 wins and 4 losses going into this in our week 13 for the Season 2 EGF Overwatch tournament. Now, we're going to be heading on to our first map, which is Oasis, and I'm curious to see what we have coming out the doors.
Off the top, we do have the Rush Comp versus Rush Comp. Echo versus McCree, though. That's going to be the big difference maker here. Keep an eye out, of course. I think on Soggy and Dynamite, those two are going to really step into play quite a bit, but early point control by Ryder here off the rip.
There's some Maywall to try and divide and conquer to see if there's an opportunity for the early pickups. You do have Wichita managing to take that first takedown onto Ranger. Couple of potential picks immediately after. There goes Phoenix in that backside, and that's going to be Wichita taking this quickly.
Yeah, aggressive there play from Fluffy at the end with the Reinhardt coming and swinging. Trust the supports to keep him alive, and indeed they did. Then I think to kind of highlight here is into this next engagement, look at what's coming online in terms of ult economy. The Echo Dynamite doing a ton of work with those sticky bombs. Specifically, the duplicate will be online first, and I would expect the Reinhardt to be the duplicate copy. So both Reinhardts likely to swing away, and then a likely Earthshatter fight. So all eyes here again on that flex DPS.
Ooh, there's that divide once again, but there is still a little bit of a channel for a digression back from Ryder, managing to regroup and not completely losing Ranger once again in this fight, but so low up front. And that Echo overhead does get the kill just because of that extra damage, since that Ranger was below 50% health. LaFawn.
Yeah, there's a couple of things to keep in mind in terms of the engagement timings that you kind of have to keep an eye out on. One of those is the supports, and specifically the main supports here. Nifty Bean versus Steed on the Baptiste. Obviously, the Moiro is going to have more AoE heals for the team in that mainline situation, but the Immortality Field, I think, is a better play, right? Obviously, you have the great healing potential with the grenades, but the Immortality Field allows you to stay alive through the later stages of the fight, and with the Mei walls coming online quickly, you gotta say that the Reinhardts are looking for that Immortality Field quite a bit. I'm going to need to see some pressure here, specifically from Ryder. High Noon out to break the shield, and then into the later stages of the tank ultimates.
And I like the rotation, trying to get around that amplification matrix that was placed through, but you do still see the Zarya all alone, completely separated. These picks coming through from all angles, and this is now going to be potentially last fight territory. It's going to be last fight territory with 80% for Wichita.
It looked like an expensive fight for Wichita, right? They used 3 ultimates, but they still have 3 in the bank, and I think that's going to be the more important situation here. If you can land the Graviton Surge to deny anyone to even hit the point, the Sound Barrier's got to do a ton of work, and then you have to clean up an Earthshatter as well. All eyes on the tanks here to try and stabilize.
The grab pulls Ranger just far enough forward where the wall does separate, instantly setting into that Earthshatter. Ultimate stack, the Sound Barrier from King Thor to make sure that there is more than enough sustainability to withstand anything from Ryder, which at this point really isn't much. 99 to that overtime, no percentage for Ryder, and that's this first round to Wichita quite handily.
That was a quick round, and I would have to argue that there's eliminations in the single digits for Ryder in that particular round. One of the things to kind of highlight there is that Overwatch is a dance, especially in a rush comp, right? It's really all about the tanks taking pressure, the supports providing just enough support to kind of deny those insta kills and kind of come in. We saw how the tanks were frozen and taken out. I think what's going to really have to step up here for Ryder in these next couple of fights is playing around that timing. If you can bait that Mei wall out when you're facing the rush, then things can look a little bit better for you. We are going to see some evolution now. I like the Torbjorn here to put a ton of pressure on the flankers, specifically Flexecution here on the Tracer, and really going to try and deny space here from those highly mobile characters that Wichita State are running.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. Excellent selection going into this blindly, not sure exactly what your opponent's going to bring out, and there's going to be a lot riding on the shoulders of Flexecution to try and get value with this, and the high ground still being maintained by Wichita, diving in when necessary. Nice backline press, though, from Fluffy with that Wrecking Ball to dislodge that high ground, but Wichita still managing to sustain through this quite well to press against Ryder, who is getting picked off early, but manages to recover with Ranger, and since Vince taking down that Roadhog play.
I like the trades coming in early, and though Dynamite is doing a ton of work, it's not enough. The main support goes down here for Wichita, and Ryder look like they are in control here towards the tail end of the fight.
And they're going to be able to take that cleanly towards the end. Torbjorn setting up from Ryder. Easy contention on this, and honestly has a lot to work with in Ultimate Economy.
Eyes on Minefield, though, here, right? You can separate the point quite a bit. I would expect Nifty Bean to play an aggressive Coalescence here as Wichita State re-enters. But Fluffy here is going to play up on the point here. Here's the mines early, and denies a lot of space for Ryder.
The evasion, too, by Nifty does go right into the mines. That's going to easily allow Ryder to switch this. And, well, there we go. Wichita's going to finally be able to get it with those last couple of kills.
I mean, a 1-ult win, you'd love to see that if you're the main tank for Wichita, right? The Minefield doesn't tend to get that much value that frequently, so you're happy with that. And, I mean, now Wichita State are in a great position. You have Coalescence for the re-entry. You have the Pulse Bomb here if you want to play aggressively, go for a stick perhaps. I mean, since Evans here is going to have to do it, and the bubble's already out.
Yep, does manage to block the hook so it doesn't separate the Winston play, so that is no longer available. Sound Barrier has to come in from the back line of Ryder to keep this team alive. Also joining the Coalescence alongside of it. And you've got Phoenix managing to take down one. Soggy gets another with the turret placement, and this is going to go back in favor of Ryder, and really still holding on to 3 ultimates here.
Yeah, a really, really great play there, and we saw the turret actually come in with a kill on the flanker. Dynamite's going to get 1, but it's not going to be enough, I shouldn't think, especially with the Molten Core out on the field. And it's nothing but a stall here now. It's that 50% mark for Wichita as Corp Turret and the Primal Rage. Primal Rage was committed, so that's not ideal here for Ryder. They are going to get the flip, but I think, you know what? It's fair. You commit the Primal Rage, make sure you have the control of the objective. You're going to have the Graviton Surge next fight. There's not really much that can defend against it. Realistically, the only thing Wichita State have is space, as in, not standing too close to each other to get grabbed, or the kinetic grasp from the Sigma on play. So as long as Sins can land this Graviton Surge, I think Ryder in a pretty good position.
With that peppered in damage onto the high ground, you can see Ryder looking for that engage. Does get the stun, but the Minefield's still going to come out over top. Can it yield the same result as you've got the McCree falling off the edge of that archway? Not going to be able to be in this fight with 65% for Ryder, starting to slow in just a moment, as Wichita is going to be able to take easily advantage of this and start gaining that percentage to surpass the 70% that Ryder obtained.
Yeah, now though it's a little bit of an expensive fight for Wichita. They are going to have some ultimates coming online. You expect the Sigma to poke just a little bit to get to that Gravitic Flux and try. I would, especially with the Sound Barrier not being available, if Wichita's Sigma here can get that capture, get that Gravitic Flux, then you're looking at a really good fight, especially with how Ryder has a propensity for trying to group up as a 6-man stack. So he gets found out. A bit of a no man's, out in the open, and both supports down. This is pretty bad for Wichita.
Catastrophic. That turret managing to get King Thor on that Mercy is just literally detrimental. You're going to have Seed attempting to get back quickly. Doesn't have the Coalescence even to buffer it. The Kinetic Grasp has to absorb as much damage as possible, but that Tesla Cannon is going to get free damage and take it down. For this going to be going into a swap at that 99%.
We are going to see that 99 to 99 fight here towards the very end, though. Riches, especially with the Stagger Cows. Dynamite had been taken down there. You're looking at a 5v6 in that last fight scenario, but able to escape. Great peel there from King Thor on the Mercy. And I need to see this grab land. I need to see it land. It's been several fights since it started.
And the Flux comes out first, does get very low, does toss the grab, and I don't think that positioning is what you would call a favorable one, as you still have Wichita coming in strong, just bursting all that stand near that center column. The Molten Core as a desperate play to just maneuver anyone away with this 99-99 overtime. The numbers advantage heavily in Wichita, and this should be a completion, especially with these late staggers and just constant swaps for heavy movement.
Shout out to Dynamite this map. In this particular round here on Garden, in 3 fights back-to-back-to-back, Dynamite's duplicate was online. That's a lot of utility for the Echo, and you love to see that kind of gameplay coming in from the Flex DPS. And I mean, projectile characters not really in a great position in the current patch. Echo, the one exception, I would argue, and Dynamite showing why just there. A spectacular run from the Flex DPS player for Wichita.
Yeah, Wichita really coming out big in that one, and honestly just finding some great value. And even with the, reduction in that strength of the Wrecking Ball's knockback, still yielding a lot of value, displacing these players, trying to get those environmental kills in addition to well-timed minefields. And, going from this control map into the next map, which is going to be King's Row. It is, as we said in our first broadcast today, a set map pool that is here. I'm really curious to see now as we go into this hybrid map, what kind of adaptation we're going to have from Ryder to try and compete against this, because it just seems that Wichita State has a little bit more coordination in the long haul of how they're playing and really utilizing the strengths of those independent players, such as you mentioned about the Echo.
I would absolutely agree. I think Wichita does have the upper hand in that position specifically, but I would like to highlight the fact that Ryder was able to bring that 99-99 in Garden, right? They do have the tools required to be able to compete against Wichita, and I think the one thing that they're going to have to kind of, I wouldn't say change, but adapt slightly is just a little bit of timing. I think a couple of their fights, they wait for Wichita to re-enter and allow them back in the fight. I think if Ryder were to take the aggressive position in some of these engagements, they would be in a lot better position. So on a one-to-one setup, I think, Ryder are perfectly in this. It's really going to come down to timing and whether they can make those fights. And I want to highlight a specific play that sort of brings that to mind, right? We saw that fight where it was 99% in Wichita's favor and it was 70% in the favor of Ryder University. One thing they could have done, they had the Graviton Surge online, they had the Molten Core. Rather than wait for Wichita to re-enter, as soon as they saw the choke being oppressed, take that 2-man grab and go with the combination with the Molten Core and take those players out of the fight. So I think, with those instances where Ryder has the opportunity to be aggressive, if they take it, they'll be in this series, no problem.
And a lot of the times, viewers or other players or those observing are just like, what, you're looking for that big play, that big grab that gets everybody. But with your mentioning of just taking out that single or second individual just to reduce the numbers, take the advantage of a 6 versus 4, now it's going to change the entire dynamic of how that aggressive team is going to play because they're down those individuals. You're running the clock. There's so many different dynamics that you take advantage of by just playing, like you're saying, a little more aggressive and getting what you can, even if it is a smaller value.
Yeah, and I want to highlight specifically a conversation that's been in Overwatch since the Overwatch League Season 1, which is to say, which is better, a passive team or an aggressive team? We all know New York Season 1, how they were considered a passive team, right? And then in Season 2, that kind of came back to punish them. And since then, we've come to the understanding as a community that aggression is almost always better than being passive in this particular game. So I would like to see that, just not even like over-aggressiveness. Now, I'm not saying go to just spawn doors or anything like that, right? I'm saying like, when the team hits that choke point, when you see them, start to make that first step, you reply by taking away the space that they have. I think that's kind of what, we need to see from Ryder here in the next couple of games. And for King's Row, there are a ton of choke points on this map. So there is definitely places where that can happen. And I would expect to see the rush composition, namely the Reinhardt, Zarya, Mei, and then sort of a matchup with that. So, either the McCree or the Echo, as we saw from Dynamite. I would expect to see a ton of that here on King's Row. Can we see that evolution in terms of the spacing, especially with the Mei wall? Because I think that was a big difference there on Universities, on Oasis earlier in the matchup as well.
And to build on the Mei dynamic, since you bring that up, that's what we did see a lot in this first match of the night, where, it's utilized in that choke point where that, single doorway is to completely sever the team, which worked very, very well for Wichita. and there's also that opportunity through the hotel. There's so many different angles you can play, and also how you can really just navigate through the remaining portion going into that streets phase. There's that archway. There's, you know, the second recontest, how you play the high ground. With that can be so critical in these compositions, and I would not be surprised to see that.
Yeah, I think, you know, we're starting. The other thing to highlight is that we're kind of in this weird, ambiguous state. I think is probably the safest way of saying it in the current in the current patch, because realistically there are, I would argue, 4 or 5 different compositions that can get value in the current iteration of Overwatch, right? I think this is probably the first time that we can rightfully say that in a long time in Overwatch, right? There has always been sort of the strongest composition, but now we see the rush composition as the teams are sort of hovering over. We also saw that dive composition with the Wrecking Ball coming in as shades of, you know, patches last. We've also seen a place, Winston, the double bubble with Winston Zarya coming into play. So I think I really like to see that adaptation come in mid-match as well from these teams. And from map number 1, at least, we have on our hands some players who really have run the gamut in terms of what they're capable and comfortable running.
I just have to say I love your usage of shades of patches past. I have to acknowledge that, as we are also going to acknowledge that the Mei is instantly removed. Ranger got the wall, but it did not yield result. And this aggression from Wichita right now is just absolutely insane. Gets the takedown onto Vince up front and just going to clean this up, taking this within a matter of seconds past that archway.
Man, there's nothing more frustrating as a main tank than playing up against the freeze that Mei has, because you can't even play aggressively. Against like certain other characters where they have stuns, you can play aggressively because you know they only have one, right? And you can kind of trust your off tank to deny you that stun, right? Like you look at the Zarya bubbling a McCree flashbang, for example. We're going to head into this next fight. Coalescence on the line already, but Wichita just pressing W.
Yeah, they're throttling through this, and with that pickup once again, since Vince unable to just stabilize for Ryder and just being steamrolled to just open up so much space.
To highlight, to finish the last point, the Mei freeze just continues to tick, even if, you know, even if you block the first part of it, which is extremely frustrating as a main tank. Another thing to highlight is Wichita State won that fight 5v6 as they had Mei on the point, capturing the objective. So the Coalescence used a great value in that last engagement, and they're continuing to press the, press the advantage. Ryder are struggling to get out of their spawn, and they're kind of, you know, making some swaps over here as Ranger goes over to the Soldier. Is that a hello?
It was high. It was high with an exclamation point.
Well, we say hello to you too, as does the audience. Wichita continue to press their momentum, and Dynamite has been putting so much pressure on the range.
Yeah, Ranger up top is basically just petrified to peek the corner here, but especially when you've got a Sigma coming in with an accretion, a boulder to leg space, crippling him, and this high ground is just going to be maintained, and Wichita is just surgically working their way through Ryder, pressing with this duplicate from Dynamite up front, the shatter on the supports, and just smashes through them.
That's a little unfortunate there. You can see the charge of the Dynamite with the sticky bombs into the ceiling, but, you know, after a successful duplicate on a Reinhardt, I don't suppose anything else is necessarily warranted. Someone needs to start denying a little bit of the space that's being taken by the tanks, because... Oh, no.
Shatter comes through, does get blocked. The charge in the back as well, leaving themselves vulnerable. Seed does go down, but honestly, trading 1 for 4, you're okay with that from Wichita. And now the separation from this McCree play. I mean, Somber's coming out here, but there's so little time to generate that EMP, LaFon.
It is, and I would also say that the Graviton Surge was committed in last fight and denied. A great play by Kaleg there on the Sigma. Blizzard available. It's looking like lights out here for Ryder.
You've got Flexecution up front, throwing down the Blizzard, separating members from the payload. Is anybody going to touch? They can't even get near it because the Blizzard just kept such a huge radius to touch. That's going to be round 1 completed with just short of 5 minutes.
Absolutely unbelievable speed run there from Wichita on just a sheer unadulterated aggression from the team in red. And realistically, if you're given that much space and opportunity to work, why not take advantage of it, right? Like, why not just continue to go forward? And I think the biggest thing here is that even though it was a 5v6 a lot of the game due to the fact the payload was being pushed by the Mei, What Wichita did very effectively is use the double shield to their advantage. We saw the Sigma shield go very far forward, and the Reinhardt kind of play off of that. So they were able to just continue walking forward without taking damage, and more importantly, that meant they didn't have to shoot at Ryder and get Cyricchio online with the Zarya, right? So you realistically had a 5v5 because the Zarya being so low energy, they're not able to brawl, and things become a lot more difficult for the rush comp that Ryder is playing. So credit to Wichita for playing their win condition just incredibly well, and setting themselves up for, I would argue, very good success at 4 minutes and 49 seconds in time bank.
I mean, when you go up from the starting time, even if it's a second, you feel good about that one.
And I mean, 49 seconds on King's Row?
Right?
Unreal.
And now as we have these doors open to see how this initial engagement's going to go, we've got 2 Meis here, though, LaFon. So we'll see whose ice will be the most chilling on the opponent.
What an interesting
I mean, I'm not acknowledging your.
I'm trying. I know you get to cast more with Paul, and I'm trying to do my best. I want to fill that role so well for you.
You know what? I like this hold here from the defense. They're playing a very bold look. Oh, are they going to Mei wall over the top?
They're going to try it. They're going to go over that fence wave, but they can't make it, and it's only going to be the Zarya. Had that extra little boost of height from the burst as now the wall comes through. You've got the separation on Since Vince, and that's going to be easy numbers advantage for Wichita. I mean, you like the theory craft, but the A plus B did not equal C there.
Yeah. I would say if you're trying to do that, I think you have to Mei wall up on the high ground itself and then use the Lucio speed boost to make the jump over. I think that's kind of how that would have to work. Shades of Meta Athena, though, right? Always trying to experiment with, the Mei wall, trying to jump over roofs and so forth. So credit definitely to Ryder for making the aggressive play. We're going to see the swap coming in now, though, as Ranger goes over to the Hanzo. So no Mei. They're going for the more pressure play of the Storm Arrow. Oh no, Earth Shatter.
Occupied in that Shatter, yes, just hesitating for the right moment. Might not even need it, to be honest, with how enclosed that space was. And when you've got a hammer that big, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's, wait, the Ranger's caught out here as well. And the poor Hanzo.
Bob and weave.
Escape?
Bob and weave.
Dynamite goes down. Oh, the trade.
Now that's just scrappy, LaFon. That's just fun. That's
you
just
know
good
what?
fun
It's
Overwatch.
good though. It's good. The defensive spawns are later, and Dynamite has been a big difference maker.
Ooh, with that, Flux is going to get quite a few. The Coalescence has to be used to give some stability, but the wall comes through. There's no healing to Since Vince up front, and Starik goes down. And that's going to be now 1 minute and 45 seconds left for Ryder to figure out something to push back against Wichita.
Yeah. What is the win condition here for Wichita, right? Or sorry, for Ryder. Wichita, they do have, a support ultimate coming online. They're going to have the duplicate. For Ryder, though, how do you break into this? You're going to have the Dragon Strike coming in soon. I think what you have to do is use the Transcendence aggressively and dump both DPS ultimates in simultaneously just to break that wall of pressure that Wichita has. I would expect that to need to be the difference maker here, but Earthshatter has to be blocked first.
Oh no, and you've got Ranger going down by the Fire Strike in the back. And yes, with that, mentality of leading in with the Transcendence offensively, if you have to yield value with that one opportunity, and it's gonna just continue to crumble here for Ryder, just under 60 seconds, and they need one last solid regroup to even try and break down Wichita's defense.
Grab Dragon is still available, though, and then you have the Death Blossom afterwards to clean up if the sound barrier is enough to deny it. So I would say here, Ryder does have a win condition established. It's all about landing that combo, though. And Rich, all eyes realistically here have to be on Cyricchio to land this Graviton.
Well, there's that aggressive Transcendence you asked for, diving in the back line as the grab comes through, but it's eaten! Oh, no! It is not going to yield any value. The perfect critical timing to consume the pull to doom, and you've got now 15 seconds going to matter for nothing at this point, because that was so beautifully played by Wichita to shut Ryder down.
And now who's gonna touch? It's not Phoenix. It's no one. No one can get to the objective, and that's gonna be the map.
No movement. It's, oh my goodness, that is gonna be Wichita playing that last encounter beautifully.
We're going to see a highlight here.
Is it going to be the eat? I'll let it be the eat.
It might be.
It might be. Oh, no. It's
No.
We're sitting on the edge of our seat, well, or LaFon's standing closer to his monitor to try and see if it was. But, I mean, Wichita right now is just putting on a show, and those just micro plays cause such shifts in the tide.
It really was an exercise in dominance from Wichita through maps 1 and 2 in this series, because I think the biggest problem here that, you know, Ryder came up against is it's not a single dimension attack that's being run by Wichita, right? You have the tanks putting a ton of pressure down range, but then you also have Dynamite playing the Echo and is able to give a vertical look as well in terms of damage throughput. And then you have the May, or you have, you know, some of the other angles coming into play as well by Wichita State. So it's an attack that has not, I would argue, 4 or 5 different points or vectors that it's sort of dealing with. And it's a very difficult place to be if you're defending against it. So Ryder, there were moments in fights that I thought they were pretty close to breaking through. It's just, again, having to deal with not 1, not 2, but 3 or more angles of attack that you certainly wonder, okay, Wichita, they not only have the strength, but they also have the confidence to pull off these risky attacks and get value from them.
And you called it even with them taking the chance of leading in with an offensive transcendence. Like, that had to happen. Like, you had to throttle to get that early advantage to break down Wichita. But just those, like you're saying, the different angles and having that opportunity, putting Ryder, even with their aggression, still in an uncomfortable position, is so detrimental to them. And going into this next map, which again is going to be an assault map, it will be Hanamura as the preset map pool, that I can't wait to see what type of compositional change is going to happen here, because we were even just talking about in the previous one where Zarya, you know, was so predominant in the previous match, whereas in this one, you know, this Sigma has kind of rolled its way in, where, you know, ever since the patch, that the adjustment to it is very, I think, necessary to the composition that you play, because it's a little more clunky.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I mean, we're speaking specifically about Sigma's shield cooldown, which went from 1.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds, which, you know, might not sound like a lot. It's only a second. In Overwatch time, that's an absolute eternity. I could probably write a thesis in that amount of time in Overwatch. You know, it's just unreal how long that is, especially with a mitigation tool such as the shield. But, I mean, heading into this, speaking of that compositional setup, something that you need to see Ryder do, and I think this is not me calling them out specifically as a team, right? It's that this is a team that is clearly compositionally equivalent to Wichita, but their execution isn't, right? They are just not nearly as polished as Wichita State is. And that is where, as a team, you have to recognize that you don't have that level of just that level of polish, that level of understanding of the composition, and you're not going to win in that matchup. So what you need to do is you need to change the angle of how you approach it. And I think the Torbjorn is a great example of that. You know, make it have just another angle that you don't have to deal with. A close hold here by Ryder, but I think they may have been spotted out, actually.
Yeah, and there's that Torbjorn turret, going to give also some visibility to their positioning, with the wall going to come through, blocking themselves off, and you've actually got Flexecution getting rid of the Torbjorn play, still maintaining that high ground from Wichita, attempting to basically just rain death from above with these arrows, looking for that takedown with the Discord Orb onto Since Vince, but a nice recovery. Oh, and Dynamite comes in with that amazing focusing beam onto the support line. Now the numbers start to dwindle, and Wichita's going to take full advantage of this.
Yeah, this is turning into an absolute brawl with, again, Ryder not getting any of their resources online. There is an example of that reduced knockback, though, on a previous wrecking ball. That would have been off the map, certainly. But it doesn't matter. The kill still come through, and now Wichita are going to have a ton of time to get a ton of value. I would like to highlight there, Kelly was actually taking damage to give resources to their support. Support player taking damage. There was no chance of, you know, falling prey to a Torbjorn turret, but you get another 20% to the of all charge to your supports. It's a great value, I think.
So you can see some pepper damage coming through. The Echo play very far advanced to see who's going to focus it, and you got that turret being instantly taken down by Dynamite so that it's not even any sort of pressure against them, continuing to maintain the skies, about to have the duplicate to bring into this. There is the numbers advantage when it comes to spawn rate for Ryder because they are closer to this engagement, but now the Transcendence comes through, the duplicate getting a Torbjorn to go for this backline play onto the 76. Almost steps into the Dragon Strike as well. Everything unleashed onto this point. 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Almost already able to take this first tick, and the second and third will fall quickly in suit.
And that's going to be the round, actually, as the stall's not going to be enough to get Ryder into a position to get the time bank back in their favor. And, I mean, Wichita continued to count upwards. It was 49 on
49 last
58
time, right?
here. Yeah. And, I mean, for Ryder, we're now counting their objectives, objective captures. And we're hoping to get them off the board here because through 2 maps, they have 0 points so far. So, I'm looking for an aggressive play here from South. I think what Ryder needs to do, and I sort of, hinted at it on the previous map, is they need to essentially create a spear, and that is have one person be the point of it, and then dump all your resources into that person. So pick a player. I mean, Ranger doing a ton of work on the tank. Maybe that's someone you can kind of focus in on. Specifically the Reinhardt, put all your resources into him and kind of try and just bully your way to the objective. But that's kind of what we need to. I think what we need to see from Ryder here in this this round, especially as they get set up here to try and deal with point A Hanamura.
And we'll see if they'll be able to spearhead their way through this. And Wichita, yeah, on the defensive side here, we've got the Widowmaker, we've got a Genji, a Risa Winston. We're just having a fun game right now, I feel like.
This is the composition that says we have not given up a point yet, so let's Hey, I used to coach a team. I've heard the comms where this comp comes out. I can almost guarantee the thought process behind it. We're gonna see the teleport perhaps here from Ryder. Scout from Soggy earlier with the Widowmaker, goes for a shot as everyone teleports to the high ground, so I mean in safely Ryder.
And you've got nobody going down yet, and actually Ryder gets a pick onto Dynamite here. This is quite surprising to, get that early pick, but again, you commented on the type of composition that it's, we haven't lost anything yet. Let's take a little bit of a risk, and Rangers taking full advantage of it, managing to get that 2-kill into this, and, Wichita is just kind of staggering it out for as much time at this point. I'm wondering if they're going to go ahead and make that swap for this second point at this point.
Well, I mean, at this point in time, it looks like Ryder is going to get the objective here. Last couple of eliminations coming through as Genji is going to go down, Flexecution, and that is going to be the reset. So Ryder, they get the point A on objective A, and we're going to see the switches come in. I really like the scout there from Soggy. They get an idea of where everyone is. They teleport to the high ground, and they get past that defense that Wichita was set up, and now the flank coming in. Please do not go through it with a wrecking ball there.
No! So LaFon,
there's Center. Wait, it's not over yet.
Oh, they came in after. It was only one member. Maybe it was a bait on purpose. The Wrecking Ball got only 1 elimination, so everyone else followed immediately after. Soggy comes in with 2 on the Genji, and I think Wichita was going to have some field moments of their own with an environmental onslaught, but only finds themselves yielding 1 with 2 ticks obtained from Ryder. Only a matter of seconds if they can just keep Wichita off the point. The sound barrier committed. The focus fire is there. The Diva getting pushed back, and this Tracer play with assistance of Lucio in the back line just needs to keep Wichita in this.
Please focus your targets here, Ryder. You have an opportunity.
Photon barrier comes out to divide the room, but now you've started to go in favor of Fluffy. Oh goodness, this could now start easily going in favor of Wichita. They've got the respawn advantage. The grab comes out by Sinspins, but there's not well, there's the damage. I was gonna say it wasn't there, but now it will be with the Dragon Blade as you've got completion with 2 minutes. Go Riders! Yippee-ki-yay!
Oh man. They say casters are supposed to be unbiased in their commentary, but let me let you in on a little secret here. There are times where a fight is going so one-sidedly that you almost need it to continue that way. And with the turnaround that Ryder had on that teleport play, I mean, come on. you gotta say that they have to clean up that fight, right? Just focus the target, pick them off. And they do. So credit to Ryder for taking the map, actually the two rounds. And now what once was a horrific time bank gets reduced to 2 minutes apiece. There's only a 16-second difference between them. Ryder doing a ton of work here on Hanamura.
And as we see Wichita come out now, being on the defense first, again, having the higher time bank in this situation, they're coming out now with their normal comp. They're saying, all right, we had our fun. Now we're going to come back to what we've done before with the Torbjorn, Dynamite on the Echo. No surprise. But now, Ryder, I really want to see if they're going to try and stick to what they did. There's a little bit of that, you know, with Sagi going on to the Genji, hovering over it. We don't know yet, but that could be something they stick with because even though it was chaotic, yielded some value.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get to the objective, the Symmetra, you know, steps up in a big way, especially with how many shields can be on the field with the Sigma, with the Reinhardt. It's really about getting to that objective, though. This teleporter is going to directly to the point, I think.
Yeah, it's... Oh, actually, no, it went on the balcony. Okay. Went onto that edge right there, now to drop down, but 2 kills come out quickly, and that's going to be 6 versus 4 right now. Wichita going to clean up. They're going to say, friends, we ain't letting you go nowhere.
Yeah, I would like to see Ryder here throw themselves off the map rather than give ult charge. Come on, Dynamite, don't do that. Shooting the ground. Anyway, we're gonna. There needs to be a change here. Ranger going over to the Diva. All right, so wholesale swaps coming in from Ryder. I think realistically though, you're gonna need to see the Genji step off because I don't know that there's a ton of value he's able to get here on this particular hero. Sagi did well on their first attack run, but now with the Torbjorn, things are gonna be a lot more difficult here for the Genji player.
Attempting to get that pick in the back on the Torbjorn turret. It has been eliminated, but should be easily repositioned once again in just a matter of seconds as you've got still a lot of damage funneling through that doorway with that 76, attempting to try and break that shield, but it's so challenging. The shatter comes through, does get 2. Kinetic Grasp immediately there to follow from Wichita to mitigate anything that might come through to turn the tides. 40 seconds to go, and you've got Ryder tucking tail and running.
Yeah, this is the last fight now, and I think this is one of the tough places to be if you're Ryder. I'm looking for a win condition, and I frankly don't see one, so they're going to be looking for a miracle here. Nifty being perhaps coming through with the Coalescence, trying to put that pressure on the front line, but they need to deny the counter Coalescence from Cena as well as the duplicate here from Dynamite.
With that accretion, not getting much value, no stun to try and offset it. Got a nice eat there to prevent some of the damage, but there is ultimate stacking up. Coalescence from both sides committed to this, funneling towards that doorway, and you have Ryder with a now advantage, but instantly shut down with Dynamite and the focusing beam. This will be Wichita able to hold on to this as desperate attempts to touch this point from Ryder occur. Overtime dwindles, and they do not even gain a tick on that first point, and that's going to be round 3 complete.
And now Ryder are playing for the draw here against Wichita on Hanamura. I mean, I would like to see the Torbjorn come back out, continue to put pressure with that turret, continue to, you know, just buy time for Ryder. Play the clock here, right? You have to stabilize for that first fight to allow yourself back into this map and get the draw here. So we'll see what they choose to bring out, but it's going to have to be along those lines, right? Stall, time, play against your clock, and then try to play for that last fight where you have ult advantage.
Going into this, we can take a look now at the defensive side, which is going to be an interesting one. I mean, if you get to try and play something to catch your opponents off guard, a Bastion with a double shield, including the Orisa, is, you know, a chance to do so, especially when you've got that Symmetra to reposition quickly and dodge any sort of damage coming through. And I'm curious to see how Ryder's going to be able to play this.
The weakness about this composition is the nerf to Orisa and how she's not able to put down shields quite as frequently as, you know, in her heyday. I would actually like to see this teleporter be placed on the objective, and you can see the Orisa pointing to where you can see where Ranger's pointed towards Phoenix to put the teleporter so that you can get to the objective. Because again, what Wichita needs is just that one tick, right? So if they're able to, if they recognize that this is a slow-moving composition, get a teleport of their own, things could be very difficult here for Ryder to kind of stabilize. But we'll see as Wichita walk in unassailed.
And And they do have knowledge that the Bastion is there, especially from that window where that positioning was with the Hanzo. Going back onto point, attempting to get the pick onto Hanzo, does just skirt by the pillar to survive. Flexecution needs to be very careful since there's no healer near to try and get them back up to health. Can't look to re-engage just yet, but there's still time. Minute and 40, taking the high ground. Wichita attempting to look for an angle to drop in onto this and does not want to overcommit to this just yet because Soggy now takes down Seed, and it's now a 1-for-1 trade on supports, LaFon.
1-for-1's not good for the defense here. They are going to get the res off, and they get a kill on the main tank. Wichita are losing members, but it's still a difficult position here for Ryder.
Yep, Flexecution finding some shots through that window, gets that Spectral Arrow to try and get some vision at exactly where everyone is to maybe find an angle, goes for the support in the back, nice evasion to dodge through it, and you've got Ryder tucked in the corner managing to hold this, and there's only a minute just over remaining for Wichita.
The big problem here, though, is the Gravitic Flux and the Dragon Strike are online. Dragon Strike committed into the corner, everyone's there!
Gets 3 with it, and you've got Fluffy following up quad in total. The Dragon Strike from the corner secures it. It was only a matter of time needing to be bought, and that 2 minutes and 16 seconds was more than enough for Wichita to make this a 3-0 victory against Ryder.
Dominant first half of the series. They stumble a little bit on Hanamura, but clean up just the same. And this is going to be that last play we saw from it. This is the problem with the composition as that Ryder was running. The win condition is an AoE effect that just kind of denies space, right? So the Dragon Strike is obviously one of those. The Gravitic Flux is another, and both of those were online at the end. Credit to Ryder, though, for buying so much time. That was a close map. And though it was a 3-0, I think Hanamura was definitely the best foot forward they could have placed towards the end of that series.
I would agree with that. I mean, it came down to really just trying to monitor that ult economy, knowing where that Dragon Strike and that Flux might have been to potentially maneuver, but you said it is so hard, because even if you do evade the Dragon Strike or maybe manage to evade that, you've got that Flux immediately after. Or if the combination comes through, then you're really just sitting duck. So yeah. it is definitely a challenge. But with that being said, for Wichita claiming the victory here 3-0 over Ryder, we are going to get the chance to speak to one of the players from Wichita just to get a little bit of an inside view of how they feel right now claiming that victory, and also what they're looking to have ahead of them for these next few weeks. So don't go anywhere, friends, because we'll be back with that interview in just a moment. Hello and welcome back, everybody, as we are here at the conclusion of our second match of the day. We just saw Wichita manage to take the victory 3-0 over Ryder, and we have the glorious pleasure of being able to speak with the amazing Echo player that we've seen on the stream today. Dynamite, tick, tick, boom. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man.
That's fantastic. Well, honestly, we're really excited to have the time with you here. And we just got to say, I mean, you got to be feeling pretty great after that 3-0 win and continuing to increase your win number on the leaderboard.
Yeah, it's always great to have a really well-performing game. You know, I feel like I've been kind of slacking a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but I feel like I'm really strong this week.
I mean, it showed through quite a bit. I want to highlight your Echo specifically, as it was kind of your method of play for the majority of this. There is obviously the rush composition you guys chose to run a lot of the time. The Echo was a big difference maker there, constantly outracing, in terms of damage. I think on Garden specifically with Oasis, there was 3 fights back to back where you had the duplicate. Kind of walk us through your thought process on the Echo and how you're playing that aggressive style, still able to get into the backline, deal that damage, while playing relatively safely. You didn't die a whole lot this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can play Echo. On Garden specifically, if you have a Mercy pocket, you can do a lot more like inting, go into their team without getting as punished as much. So that's how I got copies a lot, because I would just get damage boosted, shoot into their team, and I had copy. I didn't even realize I was getting copy that fast. But and then on I can't remember the map name, but it's the one with like all the books and stuff. When we don't have a Mercy player, I have to play a lot more conservative, like down to the floor, especially if they have hit scan, because I can get taken out so easily. So I'm mainly, as an Echo without a Mercy, I'm mainly like shield breaking and punishing people that are out of position and stuff like that. And I've had to refine it a lot. Whenever I don't have a Mercy player, I have to get used to not having one, because I really like to get aggressive when I play. That's just how I naturally play, but I'll get punished a lot for it. So I've been getting better at that recently.
Well, and LaFawn even mentioned earlier towards the broadcast about how, there's that, dynamic of Overwatch League where you say it's either the passive play or the aggressive play. And typically that aggressive play tends to yield more in the long run. So, for you saying that you've had to kind of practice and lean yourself into kind of having that, I guess, confidence in yourself of knowing when to be aggressive and when to be a little bit more passive. What have you done? And then also your team as a whole actively practiced to influence the way you play and as well as you play?
It's a lot of experimentation, we've run maps on Oasis before with a Mercy and without a Mercy. How do I play better? How does the team in general play better? Because with Echo comps, a lot of it, like Echo is the main damage dealer on the team. That's just a fact. So we just need to figure out a way how to revolve around Echo and how Echo can get the most value. So it's whether or not the Lucio is more valuable for the team in general, so I can do like my own thing with the team, or with the Mercy. And it's just been a lot of trial and error. So we got a good idea at this point of like what maps and what team compositions we can run with or without a Mercy or any kind of pocket for me, so I can be able to do work.
Yeah, speaking of compositions, actually, one question on that specifically. Right now in this patch, we've kind of got a plethora of options in terms of what you can run, right? We saw Rush composition with Orion Zarya, though you guys play a lot of Sigma as well. We've seen, Double Bubble, the Winston Zarya come into play, and obviously there's a Wrecking Ball that you guys highlighted a little bit on Hanamura. I guess the question is, when you come to these map types, when you come to these sort of moments in practice and you choose to run the compositions, how comfortable are you, sort of cycling between different looks depending on the objective you're trying to approach?
I think I've gotten to a point where I'm pretty comfortable with a variety of heroes and team compositions. I think the team in general we've gotten comfortable with a lot of team compositions. Obviously, our comfort pick is Rush, so whenever we see that Rush is the best option, we'll try doing that, or Brawl. But recently, we've been really like refining our split and echo comps like that. So whenever we like take a new approach to a comp, we'll try experimenting with like not only what heroes are best, but what is best for us to play. Like if I don't know, let's say for like instance, Tracer is the best for me to play, but my Tracer isn't that good, I will probably just play McCree or Trace or Echo instead, and then I'll work on my Tracers to where we can get to a point where we can implement changes to get the team comp at a better place.
Well, there's still a few weeks left to continue to perfect and find yourselves at that upper part of the leaderboard. So we're looking forward to seeing not only you and your team continue on, and demonstrate how you've continued to grow and really understand the composition that works best for you to get matches just like this with a 3-0. So we appreciate your time, Dynamite. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we look forward to see what your team can continue to do over these next couple of weeks.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Hope you have a great night as well.
Thank you. And for us here and for all of you that are still tuning in, that is it for at least our second match. But again, there's still 2 more matches coming up. We've got William and Mary versus Niagara University, followed up by our last match of the night, which is going to be Fairfield University and Marist College. I will not be participating in those, but LaFawn will be taking the lead with their co-caster who is going to be replacing me, which is Septilence. And of course, we all know Bill in the background, giving us that amazing prod and observation of those pots that we've seen so many of in Hanamura. But it has been an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of this night goes. So don't go anywhere, friends, because we'll be back with more EGF Overwatch Season 2, Week 3.